Hello everyone and welcome to MagicGatheringStrat. I am BInkabi and this will be the second installation of Let's Talk About It. I've chose this topic today, how to get better, and I'm gonna bring a few tips and tricks and discuss why certain people's never improve. Basically, what's the reason they stay down at a pretty low level and never get up to the top. I'm not claiming to be the best player in the world or anything, but I'm decent at the game. Let's just say that. I don't want to go further than that. So what I have to say actually has some kind of punch to it. So let's dive right into it and see what I mean with this topic. There we go. The first thing I want to talk about is to play a lot. There is a reason why the professionals that are grinding Pro Tours are playing between 8 and 10 hours a day, and people that are more casual play like once or twice every other week. Of course that's gonna factor in. Training can only get you so far. You have to have some kind of understanding of the game in general, but time is essential. If you want to be good with a specific deck or in a specific format, or learn to navigate through certain situations, you have to play a lot. You also have to play different decks and opponents. Play against different decks, I should say, and opponents. If you always play against, let's say, a blue-black control deck or something. This is something I did when I was new. I had a blue-white control deck, and I played against a friend all the time, and he had a blue-black control deck. So every time I brought in a few more cards against my opponent, because since I only played against him, I could have like 4 negates in the main. It's okay, because they're really good. Then I went to a tournament, and I got completely crushed because negate is not super good to have multiples of against like red aggro or something. So play against different decks and different opponents playing the deck, because that will help you improve your game. Also, something I see a lot is people only play pre-board. They never sideboard because it's only for fun or casual practicing or whatever, and therefore you never sideboard. But if you think about it, it's much more likely that you play a post-sideboard game than a pre-sideboard game, because it's only game 1 that is pre-sideboard. Every other games, game 2, game 3 and potential game 4s and 5s and whatever, are sideboard games. So you need a lot more practice post-sideboard than pre-sideboard actually. So when you're sitting down with a friend, make sure that you get some sideboard games in there as well, because that's essential too. Let's move on. I have a few more things to talk about. Get out of your comfort zone. You have to try new things, and that includes formats, decks and cards. If you always play, let's say, red burn, you will get really good at that. But you will also learn a lot by playing another deck against your deck, for example. If you're used to burn people out, or if you're playing control decks all the time, make sure to switch once in a while and switch to other formats and change a few cards, because by knowing what ability, what's available to you by counting cards and stuff, you get a better understanding of your deck as a whole. So try new things, that's important. And do not have pet cards. It's so easy to just say that, okay, I'm gonna build a white-blue deck. It's going to be a tempo deck, and I'm going to have 4, let's say, Vapor Snags in it, because I love Vapor Snag, it's the best card ever. And by doing that, you're hurting your chances to actually win, to have the best deck available. I'm not saying Vapor Snag is bad, but what I'm saying is, if you always auto-include cards because you like them a lot, you're gonna hurt the deck's chances of winning, most likely. So if you have pet cards, or if you think that this card might be a pet card, try to just remove them from the deck and play with something else for a few matches and see if you actually think that the card you removed was worth the slot or not. That's how you evaluate a card correctly. You just don't say, I think Spell Pierce is the best counter spell ever, so I'm gonna play 4 Spell Pierce in the main and not even consider any other counter spell. So try out different cards. That's very important. We're getting down to the real core of this topic today, and it's actually about you as a player. You have to reflect on your performance, and I see a lot of people, when they win, they just shake hands, collect their cards, and go grab a sandwich or whatever, and never think of that game again. And it's actually pretty important to reflect on games you win as well as the ones you're losing, because it doesn't really matter if you win or lose. The important thing is to make sure that you make the correct decisions. So let's say that you have an option of burning your opponent down to a very low life total, or killing their only creature with a lightning bolt or whatever. If you burn them and top deck another lightning bolt and win, it's so easy to just say that, okay, that was the correct line. But it could also be that this was your opponent's very last creature in his whole deck, and you should know that because this was game 3 and you have seen his whole deck. So it could be correct to kill the creature instead, even though the line you elected actually won you the game. So reflect on the decisions rather than the outcome. That's what I want to get you to understand here. And ask others for opinions, because believe it or not, very few Magic players are the best in the world. And I would go as far as saying as no Magic player has all the correct answers. So by asking others for opinions, you get to get a wider look at things. You get to see paths that you might not even knew about, stuff like that. And the more options you have, the better the results, if you can navigate through them, of course. We're getting down to the last ones here, and that's the most crucial part, and the part that makes most players not be able to reach higher than they are. And it's actually this: they blame stuff like luck and cards and opponents or what have you. I can make a very long list of things, but if you lose, please do not blame it on stuff that you cannot change or cannot do anything about, because I've seen so many examples of people saying, oh, I lost. Okay, why did you lose? Because I drew 6 forests or whatever, or 5 lands, or my opponent top decked 5 bombs in a row, or his cards were better than mine, or this one I attacked with my 2-2 into his 3-3 and he blocked. No good player would do that, because I could have a combat trick. And really what all of this is saying is, I don't want to criticize myself, so I'd rather blame other things that I cannot control. There is so many examples of this that I can go on for hours and hours and hours. And don't blame a defeat or a bad situation or anything on luck, cards and other stuff. Yes, sometimes it's actually true. Sometimes you do draw 16 lands in a row and lose. But instead of focusing on that, you should focus on, okay, I have those 4 spells or whatever. How can I optimize those to give myself the best chance at winning? That's the only thing that matters. If you draw 17 lands in a row, well, you couldn't do anything about that. But what you can do is improve what you're doing with the cards you have available to you. I might be an extremist on these things, but I mean, I can suddenly think of plays that I made several years ago and try to evaluate them from what I know today, and just to try to improve myself. I remember game errors I've made from the Avacyn Restored pre-release, the bad deck I constructed in the Return to Ravnica pre-release, for example, or why did I attack on a Modern Masters draft on time turn 4 just because I didn't want it to be a draw and stuff like that. I remember stuff like that, and I constantly reflect on them because that helps me improve in the next situation that comes up that is close to this one. So it has taken me a few years to get over these things, but I never ever blame luck or cards or other things anymore, because it doesn't help me anything. It just makes me angry, make me tilt for the next game or whatever. So I always evaluate stuff that I can actually somehow improve or do differently. Let's say maybe I should have saved that removal spell or what have you. So I think this is the most crucial part that a lot of players fail on. So next time you lose or you're facing a difficult decision and it doesn't go the way you want it to, try to reflect on the things that you can actually do anything about, and just ignore luck or your opponent or why he did or she did play like 5 naturalized main board, because who does that or whatever. Try to focus on the things that actually matters and the things that you can do anything about. To summarize, we have reflect on your decisions. Just do it. Just every time that you think that maybe I could have done something differently, just reflect on it. What would have happened if you have done anything different or chose a different path or whatever? So what paths did you actually have? The more paths you can see, the better are the chances that you will actually win. If you only have one thing in mind, let's say not lose, then you will miss that onboard kill or whatever, because you're so focused on this one path that you have elected. So try to just take a breath and evaluate what paths do I actually have, and what can you bring from this to improve your next game. Despite losing or despite winning or whatever, what can you bring from this game, this match, this scenario or whatever to improve your next game? That's what matters. That's what makes you a better player. And of course you won't be a better player from this state and until tomorrow, but over time you will be a lot better if you actually try to reflect on your playing and your decision, rather than, oh, I lost because I flooded twice, or oh, he did have those cards in the main that no one else has. So that's just ignore that and reflect on you. So what do you think? Do you have anything that you think we need to discuss that I've missed, or is there anything that I've said that you don't agree with or hopefully agree with, or whatever? Let's continue the discussion in the comment section, and I'll see you shortly for another video.